Welcome to our last video of the school year. How did we already get to this point? I don't understand. But what we're going to do here is we're going to answer all the questions in the study guide so you're prepared for the final test. Even if you already took it, this is just to help to review and answer the questions that we had on there. First question is, what characteristics do all animals share? So this chapter was all about animals and the characteristics of their bodies that help them survive. So what characteristics do they all share? Well, there's a couple of them. First, animals are all multicellular. Every single animal has multiple cells. If it's a single cell, it doesn't classify as an animal. And that's why we get some of those weird groups in the protists, because they are single cells, but they still act like animals. So, yeah. True animals, multicellular. Also, they're all eukaryotic, meaning their cells are complicated. And they're capable of doing more complicated things because of that. Three is they have to find their own food outside of themselves. So they can't produce their own food internally. They have to consume it from somewhere outside. Those are the concrete principles that guide everything about animals. All their characteristics are based on that stuff right there. So first thing we learned about is all animals have a skeleton as well, some sort of a skeleton. And the purpose of a skeleton is to provide structure for everything else to be built on, and support for the body, and protection for the body, to protect all the squishy, important internal organs that keep us alive. There are three kinds of skeletons. First, the hydrostatic skeleton. That is what like earthworms have, like slugs, snails, jellyfish, things with squishy bodies that you don't think have a skeleton. A hydrostatic skeleton is what they have. And that's sort of like a water-filled cavity sort of skeleton. Exoskeleton is the second one. This covers bugs. Exoskeletons are what bugs use to protect their bodies and give them structure. Third is endoskeletons, which is what we have, which is made up of bones that are inside of our bodies. Endo meaning in, exo meaning outside. So those are the three major types of skeletons. And humans have endoskeletons. So endoskeletons are made of bone, but bones are not like just a solid mass as they seem in like movies and stuff. But bones actually have a thick or a very dense and thick outer layer and then a different inside layer. So the outside layer is called compact bone because it's very, very compact and hard. And then the inside layer is called spongy bone because if you look at it, it looks like it's made out of sponge. It's got like a Swiss cheese quality or like a very spongy air-filled pockets quality. So that's the inside layer of bone. The next question on here is every animal needs to be able to move so it can find food. How does it do that? What do we use to move? And that is our muscles. They do the job of producing motion for our bodies so we can find stuff to eat. How do they actually move? What can they do and what can't they do? So muscles, they are built to contract. All the cells are built to, when they receive an electrical signal from your nervous system, they will contract and pull inwards. That means they can't push. No muscles push on your bones. They all pull on the bones. And they usually work in pairs. So like in my arm, there's a pair of muscles, one that pulls this way, one that pulls the other way, so that we can produce both directions of motion. So they often work in pairs, but they can only pull, never push. What are the three types of muscles? So all the muscles that you control are called skeletal muscles, and they are under direct control of your conscious mind. But there are two other kinds that aren't, that are controlled by your subconscious. And one of those is the cardiac muscle, which is found in your heart. And that is a special type of muscle that's made to beat many, many times without getting tired. And that's really important for your heart to be able to do that. The third kind is the smooth muscle. The smooth muscle is found in your digestive tract and a little bit in your eyelids and a couple other places where you need steady, strong constrictions. And it's not under direct control of your mind, but it still does an incredible job. So smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle are the three kinds. To make sure your muscles do what they need to, we have our nervous system to control them. So what are the three major parts of that system? The first is the brain, the second is the spinal cord, which runs down your back, and third is the nerves, which control or go to every part of your body. So these things work together. The brain is where most of the processing and decision making happens. So you receive like input from your senses, from your eyes, ears, and such, and then your brain makes decisions, and then you output through your muscles what you want to do. So I'm receiving input through my computer screen over here. My brain makes a decision, and it sends messages to the muscles of my mouth so I can communicate what I want to say to you guys. So when you touch something hot or something scares you or other situations where you're caught off guard, you have reflexive reactions. And in that case, it's not your brain making the decision. It's actually your spinal cord that takes over and makes a quick decision in response to danger for your brain, because your brain, even though it's fast, is a little bit too slow. So your spinal cord takes over. Why is your digestive system so helpful? What is its job? So your digestive system, the job is to break down food so that your body can absorb it and use it as fuel for your muscles to do stuff and your organs to do stuff. So it's breaking down stuff so that your body can absorb it. After leaving, where does the digestive system begin? It begins in your mouth. And at this point, your mouth is where the food gets broken down and ripped and torn into small pieces so that it can then travel down to your stomach. After leaving the first stop of your mouth, it travels down your esophagus into what major organ? It happens to go to the stomach. And in the stomach, it gets churned and mixed with digestive acids and water to make a soup of food stuff. It actually looks really gross if you try and make it yourself. But it makes that soupy substance, which then gets pumped into your small intestine, where the major job of the small intestine is to finish digestion and then to absorb the food into your body. So there are two organs that work with the small intestine to digest stuff, and that is the pancreas and the liver. They inject juices into the small intestine, and that helps break it down chemically into its tiniest pieces. So this is where, if you've learned about nutrition, this is where it gets broken down into proteins, fats, sugars, all the individual parts that make it up. And then it gets absorbed into your bloodstream and gets carried around your body. Next step is the large intestine. So what's left over at the end of the small intestine is the water that was mixed in originally and the waste that was in the food. So things like fiber, things like extra nutrients that weren't needed are put into the large intestine for excretion out of the body. But the large intestine has an important job to do, and that is to keep all that water from leaving the body. So it reabsorbs water back into you so you don't become dehydrated very quickly. And that's the danger with sicknesses like diarrhea, because that sickness is a sickness of the large intestine and it can't do its job. So you lose tons of water out of your body, and you have to make sure you don't get dehydrated and actually can die from that. So it's a very important job the large intestine does. Let's see, where are we at now? The last major body system we learned about was the cardiovascular system. What is the job of this system? This is the system of transportation, so taking things around your body and making sure they get where they need to go. So there's two parts to it, the heart and the blood vessels. The heart does the job of actually pushing the fluid, your blood, through the blood vessels. So it's the pump, it's the engine that drives everything. So then the blood vessels, there's two kinds, the veins and the arteries. Actually, there's three kinds, but two major ones. The arteries are the ones that take the blood away from the heart out to the body. And then the veins bring it back to the heart to start the process over again. And they are a little different because the veins actually have valves in them to keep the blood flowing in the right direction, whereas the arteries don't, because they have so much pressure in them that they can just go, and they don't need to have those extra systems. So arteries take blood away. I remember it. Arteries A starts with A, and away starts with A, so arteries away, that's how I remember it. Veins bring it back. In the middle, the things that actually take it to your very individual tiny cells is the tiny little capillaries. These are the very smallest blood vessels, almost invisible unless you have like a microscope, or can look really closely at your eyes. They carry stuff to your individual cells and make sure everything gets the nutrients that it needs. Okay, so then what kinds of things does your blood actually carry around the body? It carries food, oxygen, water, immune cells, all kinds of materials that your body needs to do everything it does. So it carries everything that needs to move around the body, which is important for animals to be able to do since their bodies are multicellular and are huge compared to their tiny single-celled like organisms that are like them. So that is how our bodies and all animals' bodies are designed to be able to do the things they need to survive. Everything is built focused on getting you to be able to find food and to do the things you have to be able to live. So God designed us in an incredible way to fulfill his will for our lives. So okay, this is our last video of the year, and I wanted to just say that I have had a great time with this class. I have really enjoyed having you as my homeroom class. We've had so much fun. Like, there's been so many random silly moments and fun times at school, and even in our Zoom calls, it's been kind of great. So I am praying that you guys have a great summer, and I'm praying that we will have a great start to our school year this fall. I hope things can get back to some sort of normalcy, and so I hope we will have a great start next year. Have a great summer. I will see you guys later.